What's up, everybody? Welcome to Metal Remains Backstage. I am Carlos in New York City, and today we're going to talk with Patty Gurdy. Hey.
Find me some pretty girls to come down to the sea, and wherever we would go, wherever we would be, no place as pretty as at home by the sea. Hey!
Patty, welcome to Metal Remains. We are very happy to chat with you. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very happy. Looking forward to start this chat with you. And as we always do when we interview artists, we like to start our conversations by asking artists like yourself, what have you been listening to lately besides your own music?
I have been listening to a lot of, well, it's not surprising. I've been listening to folk music. I'm a folk artist, so of course people do what are other people up to, and I've been listening to a wonderful duo from Germany called Aclea, for example. Great friends of mine. Go check them out.
Of course, I will. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. You are an independent artist who composes, sings, and plays a unique instrument called hurdy-gurdy. But before you explain to our audience what that instrument is, please tell us what picked up your interest in becoming an artist.
Wow. Oh, great question. Honestly, it might have been my teenage role model, Amy Lee from Evanescence.
All right.
She was such an inspiring key figure for me because it's because of her that for the first time I tried playing the piano and singing to it at the same time. And because people always told me it's so hard to do, but I actually kind of picked it up quite easy. I mean, as long as you know all the parts, and then combining it felt quite natural to me, surprisingly. And then very soon I started writing my own songs because I knew that she had started writing her own songs in her early teens. And that was so cool to me. I was like, what? She could do that at such a young age? Well, I can do it too then. Let's do it. And
Yeah.
I knew that my first songs are going to be crap. Like, of course, the first songs are not good. But I also knew that, well, then I'll just make it past the first bad 10 or 20 songs until I arrive at some that are maybe actually not that bad anymore. So I just knew, yeah, well, it's just simple math. Just keep going. One day it's going to be better. So that's kind of how I got inspired to do it myself.
Awesome. And you're not the first artist I have heard naming Amy Lee as an influence. I know Clementine Delaunay from Visions of Atlantis had the same experience as yourself. So that's great. That's awesome.
Well, I didn't know we had that in common. It's good to know.
You guys have that in common. Now, please shed some light on our community and share with us what a hurdy-gurdy is.
Yes, absolutely. Hurdy-gurdy. It is not a sickness. It is indeed an instrument. One with medieval roots. So there, of course, have been a lot of versions throughout history. But nowadays it is, well, an instrument that's actually much more than just an instrument. It's more like a little orchestra because you can play both bass and rhythm and melody all at once.
Wow, that sounds complicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mechanical instrument and it's more like 3 instruments in one. But so the bass is a drone. So just like with the bagpipe, the bagpipes usually have this big pipe over the shoulder, making one deep bass tone. You can like on the gurdy you have bass strings, which you it's like a bass that accompanies the whole, like it kind of carries the whole tune, right?
Hmm.
And then you can also make little buzzing rhythms and play the melody on top of that. So you actually have all three elements in one little box, which makes it so fascinating. And
Yeah.
how the sound is made is basically, if you compare it to a violin,
Hmm.
a violin has a stick-shaped bow. You put it down on a string to make the string vibrate.
Hmm.
On the hurdy-gurdy, you have a wheel-shaped bow with a handle that you can very precisely move. And then you put down a string onto the wheel to make it vibrate and play. And for the melody strings, you have mechanical keys.
Hmm.
You can press instead of like on a violin where you would press with your fingers.
Yeah.
The gurdy has mechanical keys for that. So that's
Uh-huh.
basically how that works. It's a string instrument that has a big range of tones, which makes it so versatile.
Right, right. Awesome. And I believe in Spanish, the name for the instrument is sanfonia. I hope I'm not making a mistake, but
No, I
if
think
I
that's
am,
right.
people will correct me.
Yeah, sanfona, I think, or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems that you are so devoted to the instrument that you even took it as being part of your artistic name.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that goes back to the roots of how I even started. Well, when I found this instrument and the first time I played it, when you start cranking and making a tone, it starts to vibrate. Like the whole body of the instrument starts to vibrate with the sound. And I
Mhm.
had it on my lap, and I felt like this is alive. And it's also like in baby shape, like it's a baby
Right.
size, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't help but like, oh my god, this is the
Yeah.
coolest instrument. And
Yeah.
what
You felt the connection instantly with the instrument.
yeah, and what shocked me is that kind of almost nobody knew about it. So
Yeah.
this is like 10 years back, right? And
Hmm.
back in the day, I mean, if I would type in this instrument's name in German, it's Drehleier, in Google, Google would correct me and ask me, no, did you mean another word? Because we don't
Okay.
know that much
Uh-huh.
about
Right.
this instrument. So this is where we were at just 10 years ago. Google trying to correct me.
you have
So I was
you
like,
have
oh,
corrected Google by now.
yeah, like no, we need to feed Google more information. This is
Yeah.
unacceptable because this is the coolest instrument. So I started my YouTube channel, because I knew people are always going to ask me, "What was that word again?"
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I just put it in my name, and
Yeah.
then you have to remember that one thing, right?
Yeah. That was very clever because you can instantly remember your
Yeah, it's
artistic
Gertie.
name, and
Yeah.
it's great. Was it very, I don't know, challenging to learn or to feel comfortable playing the instrument for you?
Right. So I have a background with other instruments, for example, the piano, and I would always
Mhm.
say like if you play the piano, you kind of are independent with your two hands. So
Mhm.
that's a big advantage if you're trying to play the gurdy because one
Mhm.
hand cranks, the other plays keys. So it's good if you're independent already. You will definitely have quite a lot of an like easier time
Right.
playing it. I do have to say, setting it up is another thing because it's a mechanical instrument that's more like three instruments in one. It does
Mhm.
take some practice to set it up, but really, like, if you know your instrument and
Right.
like if you choose your instrument, if you have it made, a lot of instruments are custom made because they're so complicated you can't actually like mechanically kind of make it like with
Right.
beans and stuff. There's a lot of luthiers, so it's all like handmade, and most of them are handmade in Europe. So, you put so much thought into what you want in an instrument, and then you
Right.
get your one unique instrument, and you're really married to it. You know its ins and outs, you know
Yeah.
all the little problems with it, and you know what it's good at. So you really start the kind of bonding in that way, and knowing how to deal with it. But
Right.
of course, if you then the next day have a completely different instrument in front of
Hmm.
you, maybe even from a different year or decade,
Hmm.
you might struggle setting that up. So they're very different because there's not one way of making them.
So let's say if you need to tune it up or if something breaks, you have to take it to a special place for them to take care of it.
Yeah, so usually you literally have to go to the luthier, and if the luthier is not in your country, you have to take a plane to the luthier. But that's why a lot of hurdy-gurdy players, I mean, we are all absolute nerds. It's ridiculous. And
Hmm.
we all have this thing at home, this huge box full of tools
Hmm. I
with
imagine.
with which we scratch away half of a
Right.
millimeter of wood to make the mechanics a little bit better, and then we have so many crazy little hacks.
Hmm.
And this is all part of diving into this hurdy-gurdy community. It's learning all the hacks of maintaining your instrument.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah,
great. So
it's
you're
great.
you're devoted to the instrument. That's great. That's great.
So committed.
um, your second and newest full-length album entitled Tavern was released in November of 2024. And in our channel, we have listened to it and we have enjoyed it so much that we
Oh,
recommended it
really?
to our Metal Remains community when it came out
Oh,
back in
cool.
November. So, for people that have never listened to your music before, how would you describe it?
Tavern is not only an album, but also a movie. So the 12 songs also have 12 music videos with
Mhm.
in between scenes and intros and outros, and it's a whole movie
It's a whole concept.
produced. Yes, and it's made to bring the experience of this medieval fantasy tavern to your home, to make you feel the joy of being part of that community.
Mhm. All
Yeah,
right.
and all the songs on this album is basically what I just would love to hear if I had my own fantasy medieval tavern. So yeah, so I just invited the coolest musicians I know onto that album and made it happen. Yeah,
Right, right.
that was crazy.
Um, so all of the videos have been released, or there are some that will eventually appear online?
Yes, no, not all 12 music video have been released yet. I'm doing one after another, I
Right.
need to give it a bit of time, and I really want to present them properly online because we have so much like backstage, like behind the scenes material too. Also, there's a whole documentary of how we made all the videos
Hmm.
on the DVD. So every CD comes in this CD and DVD pack.
Awesome.
Yeah, so the movie and the documentary is on there on every CD. There's only this one version that like people keep asking me, so I'm just saying.
So if people buy the album, they are getting the DVD and they don't
Yeah.
have to wait for the videos to come out on YouTube later on.
Exactly. You can just already watch all of it in the right order with all the extra scenes. And of course, those little extra scenes, they only make sense if you watch the whole thing. So it
Hmm.
would be a bit nonsensical to release that online
Right.
because it is supposed to be watched as one.
Hmm.
And yeah, so, on YouTube, the single releases work better. But
Yeah.
if you want to have the full experience, how it's meant to be at your home.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's great that you are giving us that information right here because that's probably something that people don't know. There is a video, an entire video with all the music videos and behind the scenes. So that's great.
Yeah.
That is great. um, as you were saying, there is a number of guest appearances in your album. Some of them are very familiar in the metal community, such as Marco Hietala and Christopher Bowes. How was it like working with this artist?
Oh well. Okay, two very different names. Let's start with Marco. So I always been a fan of Marco's voice, because out of a million people, you could always immediately hear it's Marco. He has one
Oh
of the
yeah.
most unique tones in his
Mhm.
voice. Also, just him as a person, I find really inspirational, because he actually speaks up a lot about men's mental health and his personal struggles. So, like, just him as a musician and as a person is such a blessing to have on my album. And the
Right.
song he's singing on is called I'm With You, which is
Mhm.
kind of like an epic sailor ballad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, a
I'm
lot of
with you.
emotions. Yes, there you go. You know it already. And yeah, we filmed that music video in Finland, which of course he's from Finland. So that was really cool. He had an
Awesome
idea of where.
video, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I love that you already know everything. Nice. Mm. Yeah, and with Christopher Bowes, it completely different experience, because I've been working, like, I've been a studio musician for Ailstorm for years. I think it started around start of pandemic, like 2020 maybe, where
Okay.
I first was in the studio for, that album. I think the first album I was all on it was Curse of the Crystal Coconut. Yeah, and they just kept inviting me and kept inviting me onto further albums, until one day they were like, "Hey, do you want to, like, sing this song with
Mhm.
us?" Like, and that was the Voyage of the Dead Marauder, which that's also when I started, touring with them, and we
Right.
went on a UK tour. Then we did summer festivals. Then we came to friggin' South America, and we came to Mexico, and then we did the whole Pagan Fest tour just recently throughout
You
whole
went to
Europe.
Australia too, right?
And that, yeah, like I feel like I still just came back from that. Yeah, we went to Australia, New Zealand. So what the hell? Those pirates are taking me around the world. How cool is
How was it for you to have this face to face interaction as a musician with the crowds, especially in Latin America? Because I'm from there. I know people in Latin America is very, I don't know how to say, very
It's different.
intense.
Oh my God, yes, they are so involved and they are so passionate,
Yeah.
super passionate people. So yeah, that, like, I think you could really feel like the warmth of the people there. They're so inviting, and they have so much excitement and love, and they are willing to, like, wait for you, like, at the
Oh yeah.
hotel, us getting picked up and stuff, and they are willing to put in so much effort just to say thank you for the music.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow,
Absolutely.
that is
Yeah.
so sweet. Yeah.
The passion is real in Latin America, and I'm sure in other parts of the world too. But there's something about Latin America that people is just like that. They are just so driven to show that they are enjoying the music, no matter
Also,
what kind of music it is.
absolutely. Also, I gotta say, from what I saw, I mean, we weren't there for long, but also the nature was so stunning.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm kind
absolutely.
of. It's sad that I don't get to, like, we don't always have time to stay there for long, of course. But I gotta say, so we went to Chile, and just flying over the Andes.
Hmm.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
breathtaking.
right. Awesome. I'm glad that you have a great experience in Latin America. And
Yeah.
by the time we are recording this interview, your album Tavern has been out for some time. How do you think the response has been so far from the public?
Well, since this was such a big project, it was like the biggest project of my life, pretty much, because it was not just an album; it was also a movie.
Hmm.
I actually asked my community to be part of it. So, my fan base, my community is called the Guardians,
The
which is like a
Guardians.
fantasy word with guardian and Gertie.
Right.
So the Guardians, right? Because we all take care of each other.
It feels right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm making a Tavern album, which means there's gotta be people at the tavern. Of course, there's gotta be my people there.
Right.
So I
Right.
invited them, and so I have this little collage here, and I like to show
Awesome.
the this little photo of us in our little medieval village.
Wow, that's
Look at
great.
how many people were part of this. So yeah,
Awesome.
I actually had them join in on the project and be a part of it, which was so cool. I think we all had the best time, and I know that they are still actually, so the people that met there, they are still such a tight friends group now. They invite each other to their birthdays.
Oh,
They
wow.
plan group activities still. And they
Nice.
met on that set. So that tells you a lot about the the value of that community to us.
Right. Right. Awesome. That is great. Building a community so loyal. That is awesome.
It's so valuable. Like yeah, I'm so thankful to have them.
Yeah, you feel the support right there. I also wanted to mention the videos released online so far from your album are absolutely professional and engaging. They are so fun to watch, but was any of them particularly challenging to film?
Yes. You should watch the documentary. You see me suffering a couple of times. And the crazy thing is, I kind of go through a hard video shoot, and on that night, I will freaking curse everybody's name, right? I will hate it. And then the next day, I will wake up and think, honestly, I would do it again. So I do not learn. So let me just quickly look at the track list.
Mm-hmm.
But one that definitely comes to my mind when when you ask that question is Rise Up. So in Rise Up, I am for half of the time standing in a lake.
Yeah, let me just tell you, it seems like it was very cold.
Oh, you think it might be very cold? Do you know where that lake was?
No, no idea.
It was in Iceland.
Holy cow, no way.
We estimated the
Why
temperature.
Iceland?
Well, you can answer that question yourself,
Yeah,
right?
the scenery is it's absolutely insane, yeah.
Yes. So we estimated the temperature of that lake at 4 degrees Celsius. So
That's very cold.
Almost basically water freezing temperature. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but that is crazy cold. And the thing is, I don't just stand in there for 5 minutes. Like people go ice bathing and stuff, No, I'm there for half a day because for so many takes, the camera guy will be like, "Oh, Betty, can you do one more shot here? And then can you swing the sword a bit more? Like, I need a couple more steps here. And no, we're gonna do one more close up, right? And no, I want the light a little bit more like that." And then you're like, "Oh, for any sake, I gotta go back into the cold." And with cold water, like it really starts to take your body temperature down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very quick.
It's quite dangerous, actually. Like,
I hope you didn't get sick.
Actually, like you're on the 15th take, and you're just shivering, like trying to get all the blankets at the set that you can get, and then somebody shouting, "Okay, Patty, one more take," and you're like, the faster I go into that water, the faster it'll be over. Let's go. Ah! And with all the crazy music videos that I actually have ever done, no matter how cold it was, I never got sick.
Awesome. That's great.
I never once got sick. I have had
your health is in great shape then.
In rivers at night, in freezing venues, and I never got sick. I have no idea. I'm lucky. I'm so lucky.
And you know what's interesting?
I'm not just standing there like I'm moving. What's interesting?
When we ask these questions to other artists about their videos, most of the time they say, "Oh, when we filmed that video, it was so cold at night and we were filming all night. We didn't sleep and it was so cold." Or there is always something going on. They decide to go to a mountain and it starts raining and they said, "Oh, it was raining and it was so cold." I don't know what's with the cold, but it seems that cold videos and cold weather are like together all the time.
Totally. I have the skill. I get sick before a tour.
Oh, that's a
Yeah,
skill.
that is a skill because you will have the hardest antibodies and nobody can get you sick anymore.
Wow. You get sick on purpose, so you are healthy during the tour.
No, it just always happens, kind of. If I get sick before a tour, and then the whole tour I'm fine.
Oh,
And after the tour I'm fine.
wow.
I
That's
know.
that's great. You have superpowers.
That is one superpower. Yes.
It is absolutely.
So specific.
That is awesome. And now let's changing a little bit about the songs. Is there a song from the album from Tavern that has a special meaning for you?
Well, I would actually go for Rise Up.
Hmm.
Yes. Because, sometimes I like to, especially looking at, the community, the people I can reach out, the people that will listen to my music and actually sit there with it. Um, I sometimes feel like I'm in this special place where whatever I get out into the world, people will actually take the time to consume. And that is such a privilege for an artist. Like, that is the coolest thing that can happen to you. Because now I get to use my music as a tool to change the world in a way that, I would like the world to change. For example, and of course it's always in the micros. But if I want to help them, for example, or inspire them to create community, I can make something like a Tavern album, right? So I can just give those impulses. And one particular song on the Tavern album, which is Rise Up, and the title already says it. It's so the lyrics are: rise up out of the fire and forge yourself once more. So to me that implies that, well, first of all, if you don't like, the current state you're in, the way your life is right now, or the way you are, that sometimes we can get stuck in a version of ourselves that doesn't serve us anymore. But it's supposed to be a little bit like a reminder that you can decide to create a new version of yourself at any time. Like, you have the power and freedom to do that. And it also implies, though, when you're, for example, making a sword, forging a sword, you need fire to do that. You need the strength and power to do that. And
Yeah.
these are quite uncomfortable things. It's not going to be comfortable, but the outcome of it will be worth it. So that's kind of the story of Rise Up. It's maybe you've been through really hard times. Maybe you feel stuck where you are right now, but you have the power to change something about your life, your surroundings, or even just yourself to improve it.
Yeah, that song is very special. You can tell when you're listening to it. The entire album is great. There is not a single song that is not interesting, but that song in particular is great.
Thank you. It was actually very challenging to sing. It has like lots of tiny little vocal techniques, and in the studio I almost felt like I'm gonna faint because I have to do so much breath control. And then if you always record a couple versions, and then you choose your favorites.
Right.
But if the moment when I recorded version, I don't know, version 4, I was already at like, I'm sorry to feel dizzy here. So yeah, that was a bit challenging to sing.
Right. And as an independent artist, can you share with us what are some of the challenges you have faced to put your music out there?
Absolutely, yeah. That is a big difference between being a signed artist to a big infrastructure versus an independent artist. I mean, I guess we are the maybe good and bad. I don't know. I guess good time to be an independent artist right now because there are tools out there
Mm,
that make you less dependent on old media and old structure,
right.
which especially for more niche music can be really good.
Mm,
Because just because, maybe most radios maybe wouldn't play Celtic folk pop. I understand. Doesn't
right.
mean that it's not music that can't touch people in a certain moment in their life, right? So I think in this way, having the new media is a big blessing, especially for independent artists, because yeah, I just feel like I wouldn't have been able to reach the kind of people that I reached and also like spread the word about this funny instrument that I play that I really wanted the world to see.
Right.
So I'm really thankful that I get to live in just the right decade to be able to do this without having to depend on anyone or asking anyone's permission because I'm my own boss. It's
Right.
pretty cool.
Uh, yeah, it's great that you're reaching out to people through your music under your own terms. I think, as you were saying, that's a privilege. And funny enough, this week I was watching a documentary. It is called Artifact. It was made by a band called 30 Seconds to Mars.
I've watched it. I know it.
Yeah, it's very interesting how things really go completely wrong with the record label. They are sued for a $30 million, or they are trapped in a contract. I don't know, it's very interesting to watch. I think if you're a fan of music, if you're an artist, you can learn one thing or two watching that documentary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the bottom line of that documentary is basically the system is there to screw the artist.
Yeah, that's basically what they say.
Yeah. So and there's a lot of truth to that for sure. And this documentary is really good at showing a couple of, the insights and details of how things are set up in a way that do not serve the artist.
Right. So that's why I think it's very good for artists like yourself that now you have all these tools available to put your music out there, and then the community, as you were saying, uh, it's one of the most important uh, elements you have out there to help you grow and to reach out to even more people.
Yeah, totally. Nothing would work if it weren't for the community.
Right. Patty, I would like to finish this chat by asking you what is one of your favorite backstage moments?
Ooh. Okay. Okay, on this last Australia tour, we've had a very funny backstage moment,
Uh-huh.
which was actually on the first night. I think that was in Perth. We came into the backstage and we soon started to hear, how do I say it? Little feet running above our heads.
Okay.
um, then in the woman's bathroom there was like a there was a part of the ceiling that had like gaffer tape on it.
Uh-huh.
We're like, okay, it's somebody living in there.
Uh-huh.
So we like started knocking, started hearing, and some of the guys were eating some kind of ham. So, I don't know, something with meat, okay? And as soon as I had that out, the lights started again. So we realized we had some kind of rats in the walls of
Oh boy.
our backstage, and they could smell our food.
And they went hungry.
They wanted to have our food.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
So that was a ladies' bathroom I did not use because it freaked me out.
Right.
Yeah, I am very happy that we only got to hear rats and not see any kind of spiders in Australia, though. I'm very thankful for that. I did a whole Australia tour not seeing one spider. Whew.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That's great. Everyone was safe.
Oh god. I don't like spiders. They can exist, but please not in the rooms where I
Right,
pay
right.
rent here. You don't, please leave.
Yeah, you know, New York City is famous for their huge rats in the subway system. So if you ever take a train in New York City, be prepared.
Yeah, bring a dog leash or something. God, they are big.
They are huge.
How do you cope with that?
Well, you
Get
get
used
used
to
to
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh God, I'm sorry.
yeah. There's nothing you can do about it.
Wonderful.
All right, Patty. It has been fantastic talking with you today. Thank you for your time. And I really hope to experience your music live one day. I hope one day you can come to with your music, with your own project here to North America or Latin America, because the people needs to experience this music live.
Aw, yes, thank you so much. It was a great pleasure talking about rats with you, Carla.
And frigid lakes too.
Oh my God, yeah.
And how record labels um, do what they do with their artists.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah.
And for the people watching this video, if you like this interview, please like it, share it with your friends, support Patty Gurdy by buying and streaming Tavern. See you next time, but until then, stay folk, pop, and metal.
Oh, hell yeah.